entire conversion process. So it will take its own due process. Whatever we may say, whatever we expect, it is going to be a little bit delayed than what we all expect. That is what is from the regulatory part. But from the regulatory part, it is not going to the end. When we have, see, the security part of it. So the concerns of the country, we may have 101 solutions. There are issues connected with the technical, there are issues connected with the regulatory part of it, there are issues connected with the security part of it, there are issues connected with the legal part of it, there are issues connected with the social part of it, but above all, there are issues with the commercial part of it also. So when we are talking about the regulatory part, probably it may take a little more time. But at the same, the feel of the member states in IMO, that also I should mention to you how the things are going to progress. See, you must have, at least a few of you might have heard of the Cleveland disaster of East Tokyo of 1944. It was an explosion of a small LNG tank, holding tank of around 90 cubic meter. But the entire city was engulfed by that. 130 people died in that. Simple 90 cubic meter LNG, supposed to be one of the clean or safest gases. Imagine what is the Qmax size of the LNG tank today, 230,000, 240,000 cubic. So, in the crude sense, if you are talking about the LNG of that LNG tank which exploded at that time of 1/6 of a Hiroshima bomb, the capacity energy, the LNG tanker is around 70 to 80 times the Hiroshima bomb. So that is why the Boston Mayor Thomas Mean was mentioning, see, these are floating nuclear bombs. And the IMO flow, the US was very categorical. They said, whatever be the thing, in the near future, we cannot imagine an LNG tanker unmanned in our waters. Period. I think that is clear. That is what the message it is going to the countries. Having said this, it is not going to be the end. The technology has to develop. Without technological development, we cannot exist. We have to compete with the technology. It has to move ahead and ahead. But I am talking about the autonomous ships with this unmanned ship per se, how far it is going to be realistic from the regulatory or legal point of view. From legal point of view also, there were several questions raised over here. I am manning a ship, I am the master of a ship. So there has to be a period of coexistence, maybe at least another for the 20-25 ships, again years, because the present ship has to move out. The present ships, which are totally manned ships, have to move out to have an exclusive space for the Yoma ships. I mean the autonomous ship. Till then, it is a coexistence. I am operating, I am the master of a ship, following all kinds of order. Whether it's my fault or the autonomous ship's fault, some accident happens, then loss of life includes. Everything cannot be compensated by insurance regimes. Everything cannot be compensated by monetary cards. There are criminal angles involved in it. How it is going to be dealt with. So 101 issues are to be resolved. It is not simple as it is straightforward as it is being projected. Regarding technology, absolutely it is clear. As of today I can tell you that the ships can be operated technically. There is no problem. Technically is the least challenging part of it. The challenging parts are the mining. Then comes the commercial part of it. The commercial part of the in the MSC 100, and in that only the Pax Falcon, the first autonomous ship so-called by Rolls-Royce, was being launched. There itself, how far it is going to be commercially viable at this stage, Rolls-Royce itself was telling that it is not. It can be possible in harbor waters, it can be possible in certain oil sectors, it can be possible in some dedicated sectors, but thinking of an LNG tanker or a huge VLCC autonomous stage is at this stage, at least in the near future, is not going to be commercially viable. That is what is going to be the biggest hurdle. Now, coming to the last part of it, the social. The social part, in autonomous ships is not going to much make any difference for the society at large. But people like us, who have been on the ship, sailed on the ship, built and brought up in a separate culture, breathing the same air of the high seas with the master and the viper. Drinking the same water which must have taken from Japan, eating the same orange which might have taken from New Zealand, eating the same kind of chapatis made by a Bandani from Ratnagiri, served to us by the same steward from Goa. That kind of social feeling perhaps is going to come down at least. Because we were thinking of a age where there were hundreds of people on board ship. Then it came to 50. When we were on there, it was around 27, 30. Now we are talking about 14, 15. Perhaps it may further shrink. So that is going to be the social impact from a closed group like this, how to worry about. This is what my perspective, but these are all in the infant or nascent stages. There are so many things to be resolved, or at the same time, there are so many things which we do not know which exist. Perhaps Dr. Chari is going to enlighten a long way on that. And with these words, I once again congratulate the Institute of Marine Engineers and their team to come out with this kind of activities. And this is what much needed. I am only depressed by we are not able to see some young faces here. How to bring that, even I do not know. So, but I hope with this initiative in the coming days, it will be more and more. Whatever support and whatever patronage, as I said, it still stands there. It will be there with you. Because I would like to have more and more youngsters coming to this field, because it is our time to take over and yes, generation will go ahead. So that is what is the need of the hour. So Chari, all the best for the presentation. We are looking forward to it. Thank you.
May I request Mr. Suresh Shenoy to come and introduce the speaker, Dr. Chari. Mr. Ajit Kumar Sukumaren, Principal Officer MMD, Captain Azad, MMD.